All right, we are on Daf Yud Tesam Beis, right at the top. Actually, we don't have very much to do tonight. Hypothetically, you might be able to finish me by Marav if you take a look at the blot which we have in front of us. But they're a very lumdisha blot. Very, very important stuff. Rabbi Bun Bar Chia. That's the second line on Yud Tesam Beis. Maybe even the first line of your Gemara, right? Rabbi Bun Bar Chia. Ba'kumi Rabbi Ziri. Ask Rabbi Ziri the following question. As this is a very lumdisha Gemara tonight. Mincha shenisarva the chulin. You have a mincha. It's obviously flour of kachim. It gets mixed into flour of chulin, not entirely, partially. Say you had like it's an isaron, right, of mincha. So half of the mincha got mixed in with chulin, and the rest is still identifiable as being the mincha. So can you still take a kometz? Of course, kometz umatios u'shrayim la'achila. It's a question, although it seems to be a statement. Can you take a kometz and permit the leftovers to eat? Now that's why I said only got partially mixed up, because if it got fully mixed up, you couldn't take a kometz. Because Allah is a kometz must be a full handful, and there can't be any chulin, of course. There's not even allowed to be any lavona, inside the kometz. So therefore, it's about where there's still an identifiable part of the mincha, which is separate from which you take the kmitza. Okay, so you have so the shaila is that okay? Can you take the kometz and permit the bran mizbech and mati shiraim la'achila? Koreani oleh. Do I say in this case that the remainder of the mincha goes to Aaron and his children, and that's okay? Now, why should it not be okay? The reason why it would not be okay is because I would say the part of the mincha which got mixed up in chulin is batel barov. That the kachim is nullified by the rov chulin. So therefore, on that part of the mincha, I wouldn't have a complete isaron, and therefore I would not be able to take the kometz off. That's the Gemara's question. Do I say that the kachim is batel on the rov chulin, and therefore it's no good, or do I say the kachim maintains a character, and therefore it is not? Therefore you may consider it still to be a full and complete mincha, and take off the kometz and sacrifice on the mizbeach. Never saw it before. Never saw it before. The best of my knowledge, never saw it before. We have blood getting mixed up in other blood, but not menachos that I remember. At least I don't remember. Amalei. So we're going to bring a raya from our studies over here. V'chi tevel shenisare b'chulin. When tevel gets mixed up in chulin. Now that's really a case in our Mishnah. Our Mishnah is about challah, but why not? Anything that rises is batel barov. Anything is batel barov, yeah, sure. We're not used to thinking of kachim being batel and chul. We're used to thinking of chulin being batel and kachim, but it makes no difference. It works both ways. It's a two-way street. Okay? So now, as a result of that, we have a shaila like this. There is a question whether heter is batel and iser. That's a separate question, but that's not relevant to here, because this is not heter and iser. This is chulin and kachim. So there's it's not heter might be considered. That's a different type of question, not worth discussing tonight.
You could add more.
Yeah, you can embed. That's chos. Then there's also choser v'nior. Right, there are all sorts of things over there which don't apply to our case. Amar Leis, he said v'chitevel sheisar b'chulin. Well, let's talk about our Mishnah. In our Mishnah, we had a case where tevel got mixed into chulin. Okay, you had stuff which was tevel, from which you read had not yet taken off challah, and got mixed up in stuff which already challah taken off from. Or the same thing is true. The Gemara is going to go back and forth. Stuff from which you had not taken off truma, which got mixed in with stuff to which truma is taken off. So our Mishnah said you can take off from that mixture. You can take off truma or take off challah. Well, if that's the case, Korani aleh utzatem imenos es trumas Hashem laron hakohen. Can I say there you're giving the truma of it to Aaron? L'chora, we should say there that there's no truma anymore, because maybe I should say that the tevel is negated, is batel in the chulin, and that therefore I can't take off truma. Yet nonetheless in our Mishnah we say you can't take off truma from that mixture. So too you should be able to take off the kometz from the mincha. Okay, that's Rabbi Zira's retort to Rabbi Bun Bar Chia's question. Now there's a girsa change here, a couple of significant girsa changes tonight. The next for 3 lines should be erased. 3 words should be erased, not 3 lines. The next 2 words should be erased. So he says, Amarta L'cha. Okay, so you see where it says Amarta L'cha? So he actually changes to Ve'amarta L'cha. Ve'amarta L'cha shemotzi mimenu olav v'lo mimenu l'mokam acher. And it says there in Mishnah, this is a continuation of the statement, that you're allowed to where the chulin get mixed again, truma and the chulin and the tevel got mixed up, that you're allowed to separate take the truma or challah on a tevel internally, as long as you don't take chulin or truma, challah or truma from somewhere else. Okay, and this Gemara is going to come back to. The somewhere else is something which right now we're kind of glossing over. What do we see? What are we focusing on? That you're allowed to take challah or truma internally. And that means that the tevel is not batel in the chulin. Because if the tevel were batel in the chulin, there'd be no mechanism to take it off internally, right? There's nothing off which to take off. The taking of truma is a fruitless gesture because there's nothing to tithe. It's all the tevel is batel. So again, v'amarta l'cha, you said, it should be again, skip sheino. I skipped it? Right, not so, it's supposed to be taken out right. V'amarta l'cha, motzi mimenu olav, you can take internally, v'lo mimenu l'mokam acher, but not truma from here actually and somewhere else. In tafshita l'cha, if you're going to understand, she'eino, now here's again a mistake, it should be she'eino kometz, or umatiras shiraim la'achila. If you're going to say that in a case by menachos, you cannot take the kmitza off and allow the rest of it to be eaten, now picking up 5 words later, afilu mimenu olav v'nemotzi. Then by our Mishnah, you shouldn't be allowed to take off truma on the mixture of tevel within the chulin. Okay, so it's basically drawing a comparison. Rabbi Zira says, in our Mishnah, you can take truma or challah from the tevel, which is mixed in to a majority of chulin. It's permissible. So to over there, you should be able to take the kometz and be matir the rest of the mincha, which got mixed into the chulin. Same principle. That's what he's saying. Says the Gemara, Masnisin Amara, now he repeats himself. Masnisin Amara, Shumotzi Menu Olav. And our Mishnah says that you can be motzi from the batch of mixed up tevel and chulin on itself. It says if not, you can't identify which precisely is the tevel and which is not. Then you take one challah and everything. Amarsa. So you said, so Amrin, they said, in the Beis Medrash, they said, nice try, Rabbi Zira, no cigar. Leis hadod Rabbi Zira, tesiva Rabbi Bun Bar Chia. Rabbi Zira's statement is not a valid response to Rabbi Bun Bar Chia's question. Why? I'll tell you why. Really lumdisha thing. Ma ben amitzu mimenu olav. Now let's stick at the point which you glossed over a moment ago. Our Mishnah said you could take challah or truma internally, but not externally. So ask the Gemara, what's the difference? Ma ben amitzu mimenu olav, ma ben amitzu mimenu l'makam acher. What difference does it make? Why can you take truma or challah internally on this dough, but not take challah from this dough on something else? What's the difference? Should make no difference whatsoever. If it's tevel, it's tevel. If it's not tevel, it's not tevel. Why the dichotomy? I'll tell you why, says Gemara. When you take challah from the dough on itself, this tevel cannot all become truma. It can't all completely become truma. Some of the tevel has to remain, or challah, same idea. We're going back and forth, but that's not to remain. It can't all become truma. Some of it has got to remain chulin. Some of it's got to remain chulin. Why? It's because there's a special halacha. one is not allowed to take an entire crop and make a truma. We've said it has to have has to leave shiraim, right? There should be there has to be something left, which is chulin, right? Not everything can become truma. You can't make an entire crop truma. I forget what the drasha is. How do we learn it out from? He doesn't bring down the pasuk here. But there's some pasuk which teaches us you're not allowed to make your entire dough challah or your entire crop truma, right? So, if that's the case, b'shah shumotzi meralav, hold eino suatevo roy leosus truma, kayotzibos. It's not all of it could become truma. So therefore, there should be added word ein chulin shabo mevatlin also. The chulin inside is not mevatlit. It's a gewaldiger chap. It's a brilliant, it's mamish. He says. This Gemara is going like Rabbi Huda. Rabbi Huda holds what? Min b'mino? Eino bato. Rabbi Huda holds min b'mino is not bato. What is the substance here which is attempting to affect the nullification? Chulin, right? Because the tevel is mixed into chulin. If you can turn the entire tevel into truma, then it would be min b'sheino mino, and min b'sheino mino is batel. Everybody holds min b'sheino mino is batel. So then take the tevel, which is a candidate to become truma, would be batel in the row which is chulin, and therefore you wouldn't be able to take off trumas or meitzrus or challah, whatever the case may be. But says the Gemara, since whenever you take off truma, some of it has got to remain chulin, and min b'mino is not batel, right? So since some of it has got to remain chulin, and it got mixed into chulin, so chulin number 1 is not batel in chulin number 2, and therefore you can take truma off of the tevel which is there. Again, since some of the tevel will eventually, right now it's not. It's amazing Gemara because it's creating a split. I was looking for a better word than that. But a better word than even the dichotomy. It's giving a split personality to this tevel. What's happening is at the same time we're regarding it as tevel and as chulin. In other words, we're saying that it's tevel, and therefore you could take off challah or truma from it, but at the same time, since it's potentially chulin, therefore it's the same min as the substance which is coming to be mevatel it, and therefore min b'mina lo batel. So it's quote, its personality, its dual traits of being both tevel and chulin at the same time, give it a double advantage. That you can take truma or challah off of it on the one hand, and on the other hand, it's not batel in the chulin, which is the nullifying substance which came into this mixture. Okay? Okay, we're giving this. What happened was that you have. Let's give random amounts. There are 5 pounds of tevel, which got mixed into 6 pounds of chulin, right? So it should be batel, and it should be able to take trumas and meisus off the tevel, right? Challah off the tevel. Let's keep it with challah. So says the Gemara, no. Why? It really is not batel. Why is that? It's true, min b'sheino mino is batel, right? Tevel should be batel chulin because it's min b'sheino mino. It's not the same type. And where everybody agrees min b'sheino mino, when it's not the same type, it's batel barov. Yet here there's a distinction. Since some of this tevel, some of it at least, has got to eventually become chulin, because you cannot make everything truma, right? So therefore, this tevel has a split personality, has a double personality. At the same one hand, it's chulin. On one hand, it's tevel, but it's also potential chulin. So the fact that it's tevel allows me to take trumas umaisus off it, challah off of it. The fact that it's a potential chulin makes it min b'mino with the canceling substance, and therefore it's not batel. And those two things together are what afford me the capacity to take the challah off of it. That's what the Gemara is saying. By the way, this is beautiful, but the Gemara is going to reject this. But that's what the Gemara is saying at this stage. Okay, do you understand
Yeah,
it?
so it's like overlaps both categories.
Right. It's overlaps both. We give it both milos. The Bavli is language that Arkavei Trey Rakshe. We give it both horses. Okay, it's both advantages. However, now it's continuing along this brilliant line of thinking. However, B'shashu Motzi Mena Mokom Acher. If you use that self-same tevel to take off Trumas U'Maisros or Chalo off another batch, right? Again, our same case. You have 6 pounds of chulin, 5 pounds of tevel, right? Let's say you take those 5 pounds of tevel and you decide I'm going to make them Chalo / Truma / Meiser on another batch of dough, right? So then I can make this entire 5 pounds Truma. Why? Because the shirayim will be in the other dough, right? This entire 5 pounds can become challah, and the shirayim will be in the other dough of which I'm tithing, as which I'm taking the tithe. So if that's the case, there's no potential chulin here. We lose that advantage of getting potential chulin. So therefore, it remains inherently mean b'she'eino mino, and therefore it's batel, and you can't take. We would not be able to take Trumas U'Maisros off of it. Okay? So trying to use it as Challah or Truma on another dough would take away that second advantage that eventually some of it must become Chulin, and that would make it mean B'She'eino Mino. The Tevel would no longer have the additional advantage of potential Chulin, and since it's mean B'She'eino Mino, it would be Batel. It's amazing. So, never seen a Gemara like this. Okay, so says the Gemara, that's very nice. Okay, again, b'shashu motzei and mokom acher hovos or tevel. Since that tevel, now here's a couple of typos here. Yochol leosos should be truma, obviously, since it become truma in its entirety. Kayetzebo, right? The truma completely. So therefore, here's another typo. It's not lo batel. Obviously, it's batel, right? It's batel min b'she'eino mino. Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi said, Hadar, this teaches us, Tevel shenisarva b'truma. If Tevel gets mixed up with truma, however also at Tevel, yochel leosos k'truma kayetzebo. Since that Tevel can become truma, similar to the truma which got mixed into it, lo batel, right? It's not batel. Again, this is another new case. Similar, though. We're going to learn similarly. You have a pound of truma, which got mixed into 3 pounds of tevel. So is the truma batel and the tevel? No. Why? Because the tevel, even though right now it's min b'she'eino mino, but what can happen to this tevel? You can make all of this tevel truma, right? So since you could make all of this tevel truma, not on this batch, obviously, but on some, because you would have to leave something which would be chulin was on this batch. But since you could take all of this tevel and make it truma on something else, so therefore it's min b'mino, and min b'mino is lo batel. Okay, it's an amazing concept because in the Bavli, what does min b'mino mean? You have yain nesech, which got mixed in with kosher wine, right? It's min b'mino is usually going on the type of substance which it is, right? But here it's saying min b'mino is on the character, the halachic character, right? The halachic character of the commodity, right? So here we're saying that even though right now it's tevel and it's different, since potentially become truma and has the capacity to achieve the halachic quality of the similarity, so therefore now it's not batel. Amazing Gemara. Okay? So that's what it says here. Again, if tevel got mixed into truma, since that tevel can become truma similar to the truma which got mixed into it, lo batel, the truma is not batel. Now, here he says here in the Lev Yerushalmi, going back to what we said before, that since it's similar to what we're saying here, by mincha, which got mixed into chulin, we would say that since the Oh, yeah, this, okay. So by mincha, so now this will cause us trouble. This will cause us to refute Rabbi Zira's response to Rabbi Bun Bar Chia. Rabbi Zira said if the mincha part of it got mixed up in chulin, so you could still take the komets. Based on this, you wouldn't be able to take the komets. Why is that? Because what happened? Kodesh flour got mixed up in chulin flour, right? The chulin flour is mevato the kodesh flour. There is no split personality to discuss here, right? So since there's no split personality to discuss, so therefore no additional augmented advantage to give to this kachim. So therefore, since that is the case, but we would have to say by the mincha, you can't take the komets. Again, why? Because if you couldn't take the komets, because the kachim got mixed into chulin, it's min b'she'eno mino, the chulin is mevatel the kachim. So therefore, you don't have the full shiur of yisaron, there's no way you can take off komets. Hi, you'll say, so you might ask me, so you'll make the chulin kodesh, and then it'll be min b'mino, it won't be batel, right? It's still not min b'mino, because two menachos are never the same. Because one mincha is for one chiyuv and another mincha is for another chiyuv. So therefore, even if you made the second one kodesh, it's not going to do you any good. It's still not min. It's still going to be min b'sheinu mino. It's still going to be batel. So therefore, he says you're never going to be able to take the komets. Okay? Says the Gemara. V'leis hada. Mr. Zuger, we're in Chafam and Beis. The second line. V'leis hada. Yeah. For Leisa, the Rabbi Bun Bar Chia to Siva al Rabbi Zira. That which Rabbi Bun Bar Chia said is not a. This is the line which I got mixed up with before. Just a second. Alright, the case of Rabbi Bun Bar Chia Menachos is not necessarily a no, that's not it. 1 second.
I understood it. I think he's coming down nice. There's a lot of fixed into that budget. Now, one guy buys this. One guy you right. Another guy receiving a man in his lifetime. Not the same as receiving a person. Yeah. Means it's so much better. So much better. In other words, it's nice that you come here to be buried, but imagine if you would have come here to live. That would have been.
Okay, so the question is like this. The question now we're going to ask a question like this. V'leis hadad Rabbi Bun Bar Chia to Siva al Rabbi Zira. Doesn't that which Rabbi Bun Bar Chia says? Let me reiterate what we said before. That before we said Rabbi Bun Bar Chia will say that that which you can take the truma internally off of the you could take truma chal internally where the teva got mixed into the chulin is because since not all the teva will become truma and part of it will remain chulin, so therefore it remains a taroves of min b'mino, right? And it's not canceled, it's not batel. Now, the Gemara is asking a very simple and basic question. I understand. Yeah, okay, now I got it. I understand Mr. Zuger, I'll explain to you briefly this segment. There's a principle which we have named Rabbi Huda, the min b'minos lo batel. One type gets mixed into another type, it's batel. The Torah considers the cancel. But where the same type gets mixed into the same type, just they have different characteristics, they're not batel. Each retains its independent character. So the Gemara had said like this. The Gemara had said that, you know what? You have tevel, stuff which is not taised, which got mixed into chulin, stuff which is already taised. So we say that even though tevel should be canceled by the chulin, it's not. Why? They're not the same min. They're not the same type. The tevel should be canceled by the chulin. It's not canceled. Why is it not canceled? So we said because since part of the tevel will eventually be chulin, just like the surrounding, enveloping substance, so to speak, while eventually become chulin, because the halach is you cannot make everything truma in tevel. You have to leave some of it to be chulin, right? So therefore, gives the entire tevel a character, the advantage of being considered chulin, and therefore it's considered min b'mino. It's not batel. None of the tevel is batel. Its eventual capacity to have some of it become chulin gives the entire tevel the advantage of being considered as if it is chulin, and therefore it's like min b'mino. It's the type and same types, and therefore they each retain their independent character. Ask more a very basic question. More ask, you know what? How much is eventually going to remain chulin? A minimum of a sliver, 1%, right? Perhaps a maximum of 90%. But ultimately, let only that which will remain chulin be the min b'mino. A very pashta question. You gave me this great lomdus, right? That since some of it will remain chulin, so therefore it's all considered min b'mino. Why? Say that part which will remain chulin, that's the part which is min b'mino, but not the rest of it. Why do we say that all of the tevel is considered as if it's chulin, and none of it is batel because it's min b'mino? Say just the part which is going to remain chulin is going to be chulin. So that's what he's asking. V'leis hadad Rabun bar Chia tesiva the Rabbi Zira. Is it that which Rabbi Bun bar Chia said? That we say that min b'mino lo batel. Isn't that a question on that which Rabbi Zira said? Now, Rabbi Zira, I'm not sure exactly why the Gemara is asking the question this way. Rabbi Zira is the one who said that it's not canceled. You can still take off the mincha, you can take off the kometz from the mincha, and you can still take off the challah from the mixed up dough. So, and we explained that that's only possible where you say that there's a principle min b'mino. Now, where it's min b'sheino mino. So as more, even if it's min b'mino, it still should be a problem because only what should be the min b'mino? Well, will eventually remain chulin, not the stuff which is eventually going to become truma. That should be by definition considered to be min b'sheino mino, and that part should be batel. So you should be back to square one. So and now the next line is erased here. It should be rather after leisa dadar ivum barchiat tesiva Rabbi Zira. It should be Varei Truma Iev Shar Lasos Chulin. The Truma cannot become Chulin. Some of it is going to become Truma. Look, the bottom line is some of this Teva will become Truma. Since some of that Teva will become Truma, that part should be the Min Be'eno Mino. And that part at least should be Batel. What gives you on the contrary, the fact that you're taking part of it and making truma makes it catch 22, because whenever you're making truma, before it became truma, was the potential to have to become truma, and that by definition should be considered min be'eno mino, and it should be bato. So it's a very basic question. How can you give the advantage of chulin to the entire tevel if by definition some of it will become truma, and that part should be min be'eno mino bato? So that's what I'll tell you. It's a good question. However, skip the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 next words, and then change the next few. You see, im shalamaton. Do you see that? Im shalamaton. Oh, got to change that. It should be Omar lay. So he respond. Well, actually, just add words. I see. Omar lay. He responded. No. Im shalamaton lo batel. Since before it's truma, it's not batel. Why? Because it's like breira. Since before it's truma, it's not batel because each one of these particles has the capacity to become chulin. So therefore, since when it's down below, it's not batel, meaning before it's tight. So then, av shelamala, and even once it's taken off as truma, lo batel, it's not batel. Why? Shekvar kidesh, because it already. When did it become truma? When he picked it up. When he picked it up, it's after already was saved from becoming batel by having had the capacity to become chulin when it was down below. So therefore, again, the Gemara's kasha is that some of it is eventually going to become truma, and the other part is eventually going to become truma should be considered to be min beino mino batel. Says Gemara, no. When it's down below, though, each one of these particles have the capacity to remain to become chulin, and that's what saves it from being min b'sheino mino and gives it the character of min b'mino. High when it's lamala, meaning when you picked it up, it becomes truma. So what? It does become batel retroactively. When it was down there, so to speak, mixed in, it was still the capacity to become chulin. Now that you picked it up, it didn't lose that original min b'mino, and therefore it does not become batel, and the truma is a valid hafrasha.
Even though it's because everything that was designated.
Yes.
It was designated to become truma. So even though it didn't become truma, it's as if
No, it could have become chulin. On the contrary, the fact that it would have been designated to become truma is bad because that made it min b'she'eno mino. That would have made it be batel. The fact that all of it could become chulin, even though some of it actually did become truma, allows it to remain min b'mino and not be batel. Okay? Yeah. Because that's only the Rabbanan. No, we need it to be the Raisa. It's only the Rabbanan. We need it to remain we may need the capacity to make a Truma D'Oraisa. That's what we're looking at here. Hypothetically, you'd be right, though, on the Rabbanan level. That's not what we're talking about. Okay, that's the end of the hard part. The rest of it is smooth sailing. By the way, can you stay for about 10 minutes after Marv? Take about 10 minutes after Marv to finish. 10 minutes after Marv to finish 2 blocks because we started Yutas on base. We just have to get to Chaf Aleph on base. Okay, meantime we have a minute or two. The truth, you don't have cups, right?
no, I didn't bring them.
Okay, so I have to go down and get some cups before Marv. Well, I'll go down and get some. So we'll stop here. We'll pick up again. This is the beginning of a new sugya. So we'll stop here. We'll stop here and we'll pick up here after Marv.
When you're in the Hebrew,
all right. Okay, we're on Chafam Bays. We're on Chafam Bays, right where it starts. Almost at the top, almost at the bottom of Chafam Bays. Vim Lav, it says starts Vim Lav, maybe Dal or Voimu Meshich. Do you see that? Turn line for the bottom. Okay. Halacha is like this. If you have challah, you want to take off challah from a dough which got mixed in with chulin, stuff which already had challah taken off, so you don't really know where to take off from, and you don't have the proper shiur, perhaps even of challah there anymore. So you bring four. You bring four. But that's an arbitrary number. Whatever amount necessary of additional unticed dough, and you put it next to this dough, and you make you bite them together. Meshich means you make them bite together. In other words, you make them cling together, and then of course you have the full shiur without a doubt, and you can take from the challah from the clearly unticed dough on the dough where the stuff which was ticed and not ticed got mixed together. Okay, very simple procedure. So, Vimla maybe Arbor avoid Umeshich. Rabbi Yerushim Rabbi Zira says those merits teach us Rovas or Shenit Balbim Komo. You can, if you have a one measure of the sourdough which became tevel in one place, Tova Arbor Ravoim B'Mokomacher. That you can bring four measures from somewhere else, combine the two, and that way you can take off challah from one and the other. Okay, turning to Chaf Aleph Amud Aleph now. Hadar Marah, this teaches us, this Mishnah would seem to teach us that the connection of doughs, even they were not kneaded together by virtue of pressing them together, so that works d'oraisa. Rabbi Yami, and it makes it all one big dough d'oraisa. Even though they were not kneaded together. Rabbi Imi, Yispalgan Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Shimon Lakish, Machlokas Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan Mar Hanoshu, the combination of doughs via this biting together is Torah, works d'oraisa. Shimon Lakish Amar Ein Hanoshu, it doesn't work d'oraisa. Rabbi Chia Barba Machliv Shmuasa. Chia Barba learned the exact opposite. Rabbi Yochanan says it doesn't work, and Reish Lakish says it does work. Bon Kumi Rabbi Yossi, so they asked Rabbi Yossi, Atma Shmasim Rabbi Yochanan, what did you hear from Rabbi Yochanan? Amar Lon, so he said to them, Ana lo shmi klum. I didn't hear anything directly about the issue, but from something else I know I can tell you. And the Farish Mileon de Rabbanan, let us explain the words of these rabbis, mean Mileon de Taman, find their words elsewhere. Where do they say elsewhere? The Tina we learned, Hamachnis chalos, somebody who brings chalos together, Amanas laha frish, in order to separate challah. Sorry. This is something that I'm talking about. This is talking about a Kohen brought together chalos, and Amanas laha frish doesn't mean in order to take off challah, but these were already chalos. Meaning this is already taken off as challah on other things, and he's putting them together in order to eat them. Okay, in order to bake them first and then eat them. And the problem is that this Kohen is a Tful Yom. He went to the mikveh. What an idiot, right? He went to the mikveh, but it hasn't yet come to nightfall, right? And he touched it. He touched one of these chalos. Idiot. The question is whether they all become now rendered unfit or not. Again, they were not kneaded together originally. They're a bunch of chalos which came from various different doughs, right? Mm-hmm. Now he put them together by attaching them, by being meshich them together. And he touched one of them. So what's the status of the rest of them? Okay? Beishamai omrim chibur. Beishamai says they're all connected. B'tful yom, and therefore if it's a tful yom he touches one of them, they all are no good. Beisil says they're not all connected, and every touch one of them, they're still all the rest of them are good. Now that's the Tosefta. That's a brisa. Now it's a Mishnah. Now the Gemara is going. Now the Amoraim comment on that. Amar Shimon Lakish. Shimon Lakish said, "Mimad tzninan ena chibur." So how it says that they're not connected, according to base Hillel. Hadar Marah teaches us she'ein chayavim oleha mishum tomei ochel tar. That if a tomei, let's say not a tvul yom, somebody who's mamish tomei touched them, so they don't become tomei either. The tumah doesn't transfer. Why? Because just like tvul yom, it stops. So too by a real tomei, it stops, and it doesn't. Only the one he touches becomes tomei, not the rest of them. Rabbi Yochanan said, no. Really, Nashuch is a valid chibur. And whatever tumah would to fix this to one would attach to the other. So why did we still say here it's not a chibur? Because this is unique. Because you're talking not about regular tumah, but about tful yom, which is only a quasi tumah. Shani b'tful yom, d'chsibe tahar v'tami. It says, the Mepharshim are bringing down psukim. There's some psukim which indicate that tful yom is tameh till nightfall. There's some psukim which indicate that he's tar the moment he went to the mikveh. They're contradictory psukim. And how do we reconcile to them? Shani b'tful yom d'chsibe tar v'tameh. And we reconcile them by saying he's tar, and it's a typo. It shouldn't be l'chulin, it should be l'maiser. He's tar from maiser, meaning right after he goes to the mikveh, he can eat maiser. Maiser meaning maiser sheni, right? Now maiser rishon is regular chulin. There's no difference between maiser rishon and chulin, but maiser sheni can eat right away. You don't have to wait till nightfall. Whereas for truma he has to wait till nightfall, right? L'truma mishatech shach. So therefore, Rabbi Yochanan says by Tful Yom it's a special kula that they're not considered connected, but by Tameh they would be considered connected. So Hevei. So from this we derive Rabbi Yochanan du Amar Davar Sheina Chibur Tful Yom Bet Tful Yom Torahu. Rabbi Yochanan says that which by Tful Yom they're not connected is midoraisa, and the flip side du amar shenoshel Torah, that where it's mamish tamei and the connection works, so it works even midoraisa, right? Because he says it's a special kula by tzful yom which we learn out, but by anything else noshel is Torah. The connection of connecting those is Toraisa. Reish Lakish du amar eino Torah. Reish Lakish who says it's not a connection even by a regular tamei, even so meaning midoraisa, it's not a valid connection at all. And du amar eino noshel Torah. He holds that noshel is not a connection midoraisa. Hi, ask the Gemara, Kasha Reish Lakish, Vatin, and didn't we just learn, Vim Lav, Mevi, Arbos, Ravoi, Num Mashich? Didn't we learn in our, that in the case where you have the challah, the dough which has not yet had challah taken off, which gets mixed up with dough which had challah taken off. So you bring another measure of dough which didn't have challah taken off and you mix them together. How so? By Nashich, by connecting them together. So we see it does work. Rabbi Yeshua, which says, Tipater sheba me'isas hanoshuch. This is talking about where there are no doraisas here involved. That the original dough, which got mixed in, itself was a noshuch dough. That it was, you never needed together. Nothing was never even needed together here in the full shiur of doraisa, which is a full 5/4. Everything was the Rabbanan. The original dough was the Rabbanan. You had at the end you had a shiur, but only by combining a bunch of little doughs. So it's the Rabbanan anyway. So you can tack on more the Rabbanans. But the Raisa tacking on doesn't help at all. There's no such thing as tacking on the Raisa. Rabbi Zira boy. Rabbi Zira has now a chaf alpha on base. Rabbi Zira boy. Rabbi Zira has ma pli and Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, Rishim Lakish. By what do Rabbi Yochanan and Rishim Lakish argue? But Nashach Me'elav? Only where it got connected on its own, meaning somehow the stuff fell on each other, right? And that's how it got connected. But if you yourself intentionally did it, everybody agrees that it is an inherent connection, Doraisa. Or if you tamar, maybe we would say if you intentionally connected them, that it's machlokas midam machlokas well. No mar. So let's say Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish kedaite. If that is the case, let's say Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish holds. You know what?